Hi. I want to talk about one day when my friend passed away. I don't stop talking about him because he was the love of my life. Um, we never got it together. It's partly my fault. I ran from him. That's no tell lover. I had met a guy. There's some things that I should probably talk about before this that I might make a video, documentary of 2001 when Doug came back into my life for the third time. But I'm going to talk about what happened to me right before he passed away. He ended up in a coma for 8 days. It was in his will to pull the plug on the 8th day if he ever laid in a coma. So this is another reason why I think this was planned out for his death. That I don't think it was. I don't really believe it was an accident. His will from the Air Force. He was a staff sergeant, and I think he was in Desert Storm. I don't know. I think it was Germany that he was. I forget where he was, but he was Air Force sergeant. So the Air Force means a lot to me because they put the airplanes on I-75. When you go under the underpass, there's airplanes for the Wright brothers on our interstate when you pass through our town. And there's a big lion building that he used to work behind there when I went to see him in '01. There was a lion building with a bunch of mirrors on it. The lion represents, to me, Jehovah Jireh. I've Got a Lion in My Pocket, 1999. Song by Prince. I've got a lion in my pocket and he is ready to war. And Katy Perry, war song. The Eye of the Tiger. It all goes in line with everything that I'm talking about right now, but there's a song, Ordinary Day by Vanessa Carlton. It was the day, just today, just a regular ordinary day. Did he ask if I would come along? Well, I had met a guy named Adam Marshall. He was from Dayton, Ohio, like on the outskirts about, I think, I forget what the name of the road is. Little York Tavern, down by that area. I dropped him off one day at his dad's house. Well, Adam, I didn't get to date Adam very long. The first time I had ever shot a gun in my entire life was with Adam Marshall. We went after January 1st. We never went hunting or anything. He just taught me how to shoot the gun. He left my life. He appeared at my door one day out of nowhere. I had met him on Christmas Eve in 2002, before we shot the gun in January of 2003. I met him on Christmas Eve at the Hot Air Balloon, which is, I believe, a cult bar because of the Wizard of Oz. There's also a bar called Jester's that they took out and they changed it to the Vault Bar. There's a lot of things around our town that represents a cult in Ohio. But anyways, I met Adam at the Hot Air Balloon Bar. And one day in January, Adam came to my house drunk. And I opened the door and I let him in. And he fell right to sleep on my bed. I told him to go lay down because he was drunk. His phone kept ringing. And I found out it was his dad, and I was worried about him. I had found a bag of pills in his pocket. And I thought that Adam was going to overdose. And it must have been God working on me. So I started praying for Adam. After he had left, I prayed for him every single day, night and day. As I walked my route for the post office, I prayed. I didn't ever stop. Even when I went home, I prayed. Well, then, as I kept praying and praying and praying, I kept hearing songs come to me, and I didn't know what it meant while I was working at the post office. And my route was on my house. So if I got a song through the air, there was something around me singing songs. I didn't know what was going on. But I would go in my house and I wrote down the songs. It started out being like a Macy Gray, Sweet Baby. I wrote that down. Like every day I got something new and I'd go in my house and I wrote it down. And it happened for several days. And I think it was because I kept praying and praying and praying all that time for Adam. So God must have put Adam in my life. I don't know if it was set up. I have no idea still. yet to this day. I don't know if it was set up for me to meet Adam Marshall. It's kind of funny that his name was Adam Marshall, but I kept going every day, just doing these routes. I was walking the routes. Like I said, my house was the pivot stop, and I don't remember how the songs came, but they started getting louder and louder every day that I prayed. There was Chumbawamba, Arthur Theme, It's Crazy But It's True, Silver Springs by Fleetwood Mac, Forgive, it's a country song, Forgive, by a woman, I can't remember her name, Wrong Again, Dog and Butterfly, which is a big one for me, Butterfly Kisses. It was a bunch of love songs. One day was really, really big for the songs. There was somebody was saying Hush Hush, and it came in a bunch of songs like that, like Hush Hush from LL Cool J. For me to be quiet and be still. That day I got Heart of the Matter by Don Henley, and There You'll Be by Faith Hill. And somebody was trying to tell me that they crossed over and that we were married now. I was married to this person that crossed over. So somebody was trying to send a message to me while he was, and I didn't know yet that it was him at the time, but I found out later it was Doug. So it is very hard for me. So I'll never forget. They even looked up stuff about the internet's what spirits can do, and there was a lady that I had read about. She had the same thing happen to her, that she had 10 things down that she would never forget. That person that passed away in her life did all of these things so that she will never forget that person that passed away. He was trying to tell me, there was a song, The Arms of the Angel, Why Does My Hand Fit Yours, If You're Not the One, the Daniel Bedingfield song, Soon by Tanya Tucker, because I ran from Doug, because I found out he was married. I heard he was separated, so that I started running from him while he was alive. I can't remember every song that he gave me right now. I'm not, there's, I seen a weeping willow, a crying on her pillow. If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd been married a long time ago. Do You Believe in Love? And a John Mellencamp, my friend thought it was the song by Huey Lewis, I Want a New Drug, but it was the John Mellencamp song. I can't remember the name of that song. But he came to me with a lot of love, and there was a Jody Messina Stand Beside Me song, The Whiter Shade of Pale, just trying to tell me. Well, then Josh, there's more songs I can't remember, but Josh, one of the city workers, had a truck like Doug, but his was gold. And he said, is your friend okay? I said, why? I think so. He goes, oh, I don't think so. He said, his truck is in the driveway, because it was on Josh's route. His truck's still in the driveway for 2 weeks now. Are you sure that he's okay? I said, I don't know. So I drove around to try to find out if he was okay. So I couldn't go to his house because his wife, I didn't want her to be mad at me because she didn't know. Like, he was mine. They got married, but it was my soulmate. So I was just happy that he was alive. But that would be set them free when we were in high school, because he told me he was with another woman, Denise. So I followed the music because that was what I loved. But I went everywhere trying to find Doug. So as I was driving after work one day, I remember going through the city Route 3. to find out, and I kept getting that song Wake Me Up by Seether. So I don't know the time frame because it's been '03, it's 2018, but somehow I was getting that Wake Me Up song. So I drove through City Route 3, which is by the elementary school, in a Platte. And I made my way all the way to my old supervisor, that when I worked at Valor Enterprises. Doug's best friend was my supervisor, and we actually had to talk about this when I was getting interviewed for the job. That I told him about Doug, and he said, "Oh, that's my best friend." Well, later, how me and Doug met the third time is I was working at Bully's bar in Tip City, and I went out to look in the dining room for smoking a cigarette. It was getting close to 5 o'clock to see how packed we were going to get for that night, because I always make good money. And I walked back to the break room, and I heard somebody say, "Was that Tammy?" Well, then by the time I got back out, there was nobody there. I couldn't see anybody. The people that said it was that Tammy had already walked out. And this was about 2001 when that happened. I had to keep a second job because I only worked Saturdays at the post office. It was feast or famine. So I had to take care of my kids and keep a roof over my head. But I went to that guy's house. It was my supervisor, I found out, and Doug sitting at the bar that day when they said it was that Tammy. It was Doug. And then I got to see him for a little bit before he died. But I went to Terry's to find out if Doug was okay, and they told me that Doug had died, and I went into shock, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything, and they said that I better leave because Doug's dad was working on the hot tub. So I wasn't allowed to do anything. It was like nobody will let me. But Doug used to want me to wait for him, and I didn't want to hurt his wife because I thought if I loved him so much, she had to. That was another song, was Phil Collins, "Against the Odds." You're the only one that knew me and what mattered most, by Tyne Herndon, and Shoulda Asked Her Faster. There was a lot of songs. A lot of songs he gave me when he was in a coma. I heard that he was laying in his coma, screaming, because he couldn't do anything about his condition. I don't know, I wasn't there, I just heard this. But there was a lot of spiritual events going on around me before he passed away, and I believe that he was killed because I seen him look crippled one day walking at Bully's, and then another day he looked healthy. It's like what they do to me. A lot of things, and he couldn't talk one day. Like he was being held back. He came in crying all the time to Bully's, and he couldn't explain himself. It was just like what they do to me. So I know there's some evil people out there that don't like us. But I'll never forgive myself for never finding him, never being with him. Because a lot of things different was one of his songs. And True, Spandau Ballet. There's so many songs he gave me. I'm gonna close. There's nothing I can do today to make him come back. He looked like he was gonna pass away one day when I was delivering the mail. And I had to work on his route that day, fill in for somebody. And he was outside shoveling the snow. And he looked really pale, like he was gonna die. And he told me, he's like, "You look beautiful." And I wanted to get out of my LOV and tell him that I loved him and that he looked okay too, but he didn't. So he kept driving by me on my route, waving at me in his truck when he saw me while he was alive. I should have chased him. He probably would have lived. I hope somebody can record the background noise in these videos to find out what these people do to me and find out who they are, because you can hear them. Because it's all recorded as I talk. They're talking at the same time I talk. I know it's a cult. And I'll find out. Because the day that Doug died, we were in a blizzard February 20th. And I called off work. I felt like I had gotten run over by a Mack truck. Or me and my daughter woke up at 7 a.m. And I got up to use the restroom after I called into my job, which I never call in. And my other daughter said, Mom, oh my gosh, you have holes in your shorts. I had bought a pair of silk boxers I was going to give Doug because he gave me a pair of his and I was going to replace them. Well, I went to the bathroom, I took them off, and it looked like 3 long claw marks had went through my shorts. And I heard I Just Died in Your Arms today, that song. And then I took the shorts off and I threw them in the trash, and someone said, you're going to wish that you had those shorts. You're going to want those back. But I threw them away anyways. I was scared. But I lay back on the couch with my daughter, and we woke up at 2:30 in the afternoon. I opened the door because I still didn't feel very good. And it was like real warm outside, and I felt like, oh, God's telling me somebody crossed over today. Well, I found out later they had pulled the plug on Doug at 7 o'clock that morning. So I felt him die. Like, we were very connected, even though we were apart. Like, I know that we really cared about each other. It's just life happened to us, and people did come between us that, because nobody knows what love is. I think that's why he gave me that song, Do You Believe in Love? Because nobody's following God anymore. Nobody's finding their soulmates, and everybody makes a joke about it, and everybody's on the Matches.coms and POFs and stuff. That everybody's just having sex instead of finding out who they really love. They don't listen to their heart. They don't pay attention to the communication going on with God. They're not peaceful. And I think I'm being kept from my peace, my inner peace with God. And I'm really upset because I used to be very close to God when I was a little girl, and they're taking that away from me. And that is the return to innocence. You have to go back and get yourself back connected to God and Jesus when you were when you were little, because we're all born innocent in Christ. And now the world is changing everybody, and I'm really upset about it. If we don't get ourselves back to being innocent, we're all never going to find true love in this world, especially if me and Doug couldn't get it together and we are divine associated. How many people in the world are going to just be settled with whoever they find? They think they're in love and they're not. And it's funny because everybody thinks they're better than everybody else, and they think they've got somebody that they love, and they don't. It always fades away. It's like you find somebody and then the love just fades away. Love never dies. So I'm going to regret him passing away the rest of my life. I heard the ambulance go by and I wanted to chase it, and I thought, I'm not an ambulance chaser. I should have, but I wasn't even allowed in the hospital when he went to the hospital. And nobody was supposed to tell me because he wasn't married to me. He was married to Denise. But as long as he was alive, I was happy. Knowing, because we both kind of gave each other something for each other, even though we were happy apart, knowing that we were both in the world together. But they had to go and mess up our life and interfere. There was people that did stuff even at Bullies when he would come in there, knowing that we were supposed to be together. Messed us up. Because the people have ill intentions, they don't, I don't know what their problem is. They think it's a game. But in closing this